Can't you see tribalism is killing us?
I can't believe she left me because of my tribe. I wonder if people understand or know what tribalism is.
Tribalism is probably the most unique and systemic challenge facing a lot of countries, and I think in particular my country, my home country, Nigeria. The way I've learned about tribalism is the sort of differences between tribes that are often accentuated when it comes to perpetuating outcomes that are not necessarily fair or equal. That is, tribalism often leads to people treating folks who are not part of their tribe in ways that can be viewed as oppressive and marginalizing, and make it easier for people to, in many ways, not embrace a lot of their differences that should be otherwise embraced wholly.
But tribalism in Nigeria is like an ethnicity. It's a social phenomenon that, that is deeply rooted in Nigerian society, mostly in the political system. They kind of use this tribalism to incorporate during election time. You hear people like, it's our people, it's an Hausa man, it's a Yoruba man, it's an Igbo man. When they had the first ethnic conflict, like clash, during the Biafra War, I was told, I was not there, historical stories and stuff like that, that the Igbos were driven, the same thing they did in the same election, the same thing they did during the Biafra. But I don't know much about the Biafra, but I know it was during it was as a result of ethnicity clash. They had the issue, they killed some Igbo people. If you're an Igbo man, you'll be killed.
What people don't understand is tribalism can lead to social division, conflict, discrimination, as people may prioritize their own interest or the interest of their own group. We have to go back before colonial days, we would call pre-colonial era. At that point, Africa had its own history with ethnic groups, and each with their own language, culture, territories.
Prior to the arrival of the white explorers and the colonizers, that in many ways a lot of African tribes, a lot of African ethnic groups coexisted in ways that were peaceful, that were meaningful. Obviously, there are always differences when it comes to, whether it's differences in language or cultural traditions, but for the most part, it was never really a position in which one tribe felt the need to dominate over another. And so I think to the extent that that was my understanding of pre-colonial history, and that the influence and the arrival of the colonizers changed those circumstances, really began to create situations in which people wanted to jockey for resources, based on what the colonial masters were providing or suggesting in terms of opportunities for trade or opportunities for enrichment. And so in that sense, I think that's where a lot of folks across different tribes really began to lean into the idea of whose tribe is more superior. I think similar to any system of oppression, tribalism and racism, really work in terms of accentuating differences, right? In the case of racism, it's this idea, the narrative of racial difference, and putting people again in a position to value certain groups over others. You see a lot of the same in tribalism, right? It's those narratives of tribal difference that put people in a position to value certain aspects or certain groups more than others. And again, I think when it comes down to it, one of the big challenges that we have with systemic racism, which I also think is apparent in systemic tribalism, is that most folks don't understand how it works on a systemic level, right? That it can be very easy to point out the challenges of tribalism on that interpersonal level, right? When people are expressing prejudice or, discrimination, directly, based on tribal background or affiliation, right? But it's not so easy to address when it's baked into policies or ideology or continues to perpetuate segregation or social division. And so I think it's being mindful of the fact that, our societies were structured around these ideologies, and that one of the best ways for us to truly address it is to ensure that people actually understand the society they live in.
I can't believe she left me because of my tribe.
Stop tribalism.
Stop tribalism.
Stop tribalism.
Stop tribalism.
We need to end tribalism now.